do it. So on this one I'm going to show how I finish sand and cement render. On the previous videos I showed how to mix sand cement render, how to scratch coat, how to coat up your final coat, and how to straighten it. So if you want to see them, I'll drop links in the description, and I'll also try and put them all in a playlist, and I'll put that in the description also. But so basically what I've done here, I've started at the top, I've coated it all on, and I've got it straightened. Then I have went to the bottom, I coated along the joint, got it straightened, and then coated the whole wall and straightened it all up. And so then obviously it should be setting from the top down, basically roughly from where you coated first. It should be tightening up there and going down to where the stuff hasn't been on as long. Also, the moisture from the top will be dropping down the wall, as moisture would tend to fall other than climb. So that's something to think about as well when you get more towards the bottom, as the bottom will be possibly, at least the last sort of block and a half, will be a bit wetter. But I'll show you the way I pull it in. So you can see I'm actually pressing with a decent bit of force at the top here, as obviously the top will have picked up, it being on longer and on first. And like I said in the previous video, the way I've left the render open just to help let it dry that bit more so I could get onto it and rub up. So all them holes, guys, is they're all, when you're rubbing and you see the gritty sort of marks or any wee divots, any wee dents or trowel marks or marks from the straight edge, you gotta get them filled in. So you'll always want to have a little bit of mix left over, even a wee half bucket or so should get you off a wall this size. So what you'll do is, I just usually use it off the trowel, as you can see, and just pick up wee bits as I need with the float and press them into the holes, any wee misses, and then rub it smooth again. At this stage as well, if you do feel anything that's bumped out too far, you might want to just check it again with your straight edge just to be safe. But you can see here, as there was quite a bit of a hole there, and you can see how just adding that little bit just helps fill it in and smoothen it out. But on the most, the straighter you get your wall previous to this stage, this is the finishing stage, so you do want to take your time, as the straighter you get the wall, the quicker this stage will go. But you don't want to be turning your wall until there's nothing left on it. You still have to leave a good coat on the wall as well, otherwise you will have straightened it back to the scratch coat. But again, that's all in the previous video there. I am finding it a wee bit tricky here at the top of the soffit. It's quite a tight soffit, and just about get the float in. I could just about get the trowel and stuff into it as well. But for the likes of them details, you want to spend time on them. They're the wee bits that do count. Up round soffits, down the angles, you know, they still count. People will still look at them. You need to make sure they're nice and finished and cleaned down afterwards. You can see I'm actually up on trestles here just to get the top off. So once you get your top all rubbed up, the next stage will be the sponging. So I recommend that if you're doing something with a bit of split level, such as this wall or a big long wall, bit of area, I do recommend that you try, when you float it up, you do try and finish it as you go, and that'll save you, especially when you're up on trestles. As you can see, I'm finishing it off now, but it will save you a bit of time jumping up and down off the trestles Basically you'll have to pull them back and forward and climb up. You also risk getting dirt on the wall from the trestles, doing it that often, or taking chunk out of the wall with the planks or with the trestles. So I definitely recommend trying to get it sponged, trying to get the whole top area, or the high area, or the first area on, get it done and dusted out of the way. So again, keep your sponge clean as you're going, and you don't want to have a big pile of water in it, but a moist sponge to me is the nicest. Helps you finish off. It is quite warm here. It's a bit overcast, but cloudy there. But to me, that is the perfect conditions, because you don't want the sun beating off it when you're trying to get it finished. It'll be a bit trickier, in my opinion, to get it done when it's just drying too quick. To me, good cloudy days is the best way. And you can see the way I'm finishing it off after it's all floated up with the plastic float. Just basically, I'm sponging in underneath the soffit there. I'm going sort of long ways with it, and then if I didn't drop my sponge, I'll show you what I'm doing is just sort of going up and down, long enough strokes, guys. You can, if there is a couple of wee divots, you can, like wee pip holes, you can work it in with a sponge slightly as well, and it will tidy it up nicely. Don't forget to eyeball it, left, right, up, down, especially before you take away your trestles there. So back down to the bottom again, you can see it is a bit wetter, as you might find this when you're starting to rub up, that you are starting to catch up with it a bit, and that's actually a good thing. If you find that you're going too fast finishing, you can grab yourself a cup of tea or clean up tools and stuff, as you might not want to rub it too early. I don't mind rubbing it when it's wet. I don't like rubbing it when it's too wet. My mix here has a bit of SBR in, so it does tend to be a bit stickier. So when it's wet, it really does be sticky to the float. But I tend to like it, there's a nice wee stage of when you're rubbing it when it's wet, when it's just sort of tightening. That's the sort of stage I like to catch it. I don't like rubbing it when it's too hard either. That's actually a lot more hard work. With this one, when you're rubbing it a bit soft, when it's a bit softer, you'll have to be a bit more patient. Don't apply too much pressure. You might find it a bit more difficult at the start, but as you pick it up, as you learn more, you'll get into the rhythm of it. Again, where I'm rubbing here from is left to right, and the reason being I started that side, so I'm still following the fresh coat around, going from the oldest stuff to the newest stuff. And just showing you here, I did touch about it earlier, the bottom tends to be a lot wetter, and don't be afraid if you rub it up and there's, what I'm saying is when it's wet, you don't want to work holes into the render, you don't want to dig in too much with the float, and you don't want to leave too many lines. So if you feel that that's happening, let it sit, 10 minutes, come over, touch it with your fingers, press it in, get a feel for it, give it a wee rub of the float. Is it too wet? Give it another 5 minutes. It is it's a timing game. Plastering's all timing, preparation and timing. Get your mixes right. That's definitely what the game's all about. And with rendering here, sand and cement render, the bottom will always be a wee bit wetter, as you have moisture from the ground, but you've also, like I said, the moisture of the walls travelling down the way, just following its natural path. But if you have rubbed it and it is rubbing in smooth, and you're not disshaping it, that it's still staying straight, but you still see the odd wee line, what you can do is you can actually rub it all again. Don't be afraid to give it another pass. There's nothing wrong with rubbing the same wall twice. As long as it's staying in shape, you're not pulling it out of shape. you can always give it a second pass and then sponge it up. But so basically I think I've covered everything for now. I'll do a wee quick recap here and go through all the stages from the very start. That'll be in the playlist below as well. Mix the render. And this particular render was the 3:1 scratch coat. I then showed you how to prepare the block walls, cleaning off, preferably with a floor scraper, clean off all the snatters, and then obviously get it soaked down. So if it's older wall, whatever it is, if it needs a splash, maybe do a wee test. But so you're just getting it, thinking about your suction and controlling your suction. So after that, then obviously I showed you how to give it the undercoat, the scratch coat render, and then I showed you previously how to coat the render. This coating is 4:1 sand and cement. Again, how to coat it. So first things first, you gotta get it all on as neat as possible and make your life easier when you're straightening up. So the next stage after you get it coated is getting it all straightened up, taking out any humps and bumps and making sure you fill any slacks. And then after you have the wall straightened down, the only things left to do is the final touch, which is running up with the float and giving it a little finish off with the sponge. I find the car sponges work grand, but there is obviously also rendering sponges, the magic sponges. So hope you enjoyed these videos, guys. Subscribe for more. Hit the like button to let me know you liked it, and hit the bell so that you're constantly getting notified to all the new content coming up.
What we do in life echoes in eternity.